On.
Computer. Yeah.
Sorry, that was bad, Tommy.
It's okay.
You ready for it? Okay.
Got it. All right. All right. Yeah. Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Real excited today. I've got a friend on here today, someone I really admire, and I've known him for about 5 years at AstraZeneca. I learned a lot from Josh Chapman. So, Josh, just excited to have you on, and welcome to Growth Mindset of a Champion podcast. And again, I just am thrilled to have you on and be able to chat with you for a little bit here this afternoon.
The pleasure's all mine, Ty. Thank you so much.
Hey, no worries, brother. Hey, I really respect and admire. You've done so much out there in the pharmaceutical world. I know you've had some other experiences as well, but you put an entire career in over a long period of time, and you've been impacted by a lot of coaches in your lifetime.
Mhm.
And you've impacted a lot of people as
Mhm.
a coach, right?
Mhm.
And currently, Josh, I know that looking through your career, you were with BI, Beringer Ingelheim for 14 and a half years. You were at Zoll as a regional director for 3.5, ZS Pharma for 4.5. You've been here with AstraZeneca for 5+ years, right? And you've moved into the global director, leadership and management development in the oncology division here at AstraZeneca. And you have touched a lot of lives and you've been impacted by a lot of people out there. And I just thought it'd be great to have you on to kind of share some of your experiences and kind of it helps open up doors for other people out there going through change and people who want to continue to grow in their career.
It's funny, Ty. I mean, as you read that, it's interesting to hear it. I've, of course, been incredibly lucky, like everybody else. I wish I could say I had some master plan and I was always smart enough to, have it all sussed out in the beginning. But fortunately, as you referenced, I had great mentors. I had people that were legacy leaders that I think about, and really fortunate. So thanks for saying it. I look forward to talking about it.
Yeah, super excited. And we're going to dig a little deep if you're okay with that. I'm
I'm
going to go
fine. Let's
back.
do it.
I just want to go back, man, because it's great for people to understand. You just don't wake up one day and you're at a high level global director role. I know that takes a lot of sacrifice, a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings. That's not including all the education you had to go through. I went to night school for 20+ years, working full time, and I got my opportunity at about age 40 in pharma. So I've been going, and it's been 25 years for me in the industry. So
Wow.
I've just always had that
Yeah.
fire burning, that drive to
Yeah.
want to do more, right? To want to grow, to want to develop. And that's why I came up with this growth mindset of a champion podcast, because if we can show people out there it's possible
Yeah.
and you have an unlimited mindset, you can grow, you can develop. It just fires people up and connects them and
Yeah.
it really lets them know that, you know what, if Ty can do it and Josh can do it, maybe you can do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it. It's so funny you say it. I mean, my sister went to night school to graduate college, and I have to say that she did that up until probably her late 30s, and it was like immeasurably more difficult than what I went through. And I think I admire you for having done that. And I think having seen the impact that's made on you developing you into the person you are and the team that, and has allowed you to be the leader you've been, of course, we're all part of our stories. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that experience really set you up to lead differently, more authentically, more caring. I mean, it's why you've gotten the success you've gotten and had the results you've gotten too.
Yeah, and just that what you're talking about right now is, we're really touching, reaching across aisle, and
Yeah.
to be successful in life and in business, it's going to take a lot more than you and I, right? I think we've had so many great people around us, and we've been blessed to be able to, to shine a light, but also get a light shined on us and be able to reflect back and give back to others, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many different leadership styles out there that people talk about, right? And when you start to stop and think about it, if you had to select a leadership style or the way you approach leadership, what would you be able to summarize that or kind of what that might
Well,
look like or
this
sound
is
like?
it's fun for me because I'm curious of your answer as much as I'm interested in my own answer. I mean, I can tell you that I as I look back, I mean, I think being authentic, being real, being yourself, being empathetic, having EQ, being a servant leader is a big one that everyone speaks about. Transformational leadership, as you know, is the combination of all of these different styles. Authentic
Hmm.
servant. Um, I had a couple really, I think, wildly formative things that happened to me. One, I worked for some great leaders, and someone believed in me and took a chance on me. And I remember back, and I think of that person being incredibly challenging. He was tough. He coached me like crazy. He expected everything from me, but I loved it and I thrived in that. And that was amazingly lucky and fortunate in my career to have had that person. And now, as I've gotten older myself and I have people reporting to me, I mean, I think as you would be, you feel the same way. I know. My proudest moments are having people that reported to me do incredibly well in their own careers, becoming managers on their own or leading or being promoted. Like those are the things I feel really proud about. And I also feel a lot of pride and happiness in like mentoring people.
Hmm.
And I think we on the oncology side, Ty, we kind of patented this for our leadership programs, this idea of legacy leadership. And we branded that for our programs. And when we say that, we mean leaders who leave a lasting impact on you. And
Right.
so when walk away from someone that you reported to 15, 20 years ago,
Hmm.
and you get called about a new job opportunity, or you have a struggle with your team, and you've been a people leader a long time, but we all have those moments of self doubt. And you pick up the phone and you call someone that is your mentor still to this day. That
Right.
person is a legacy leader. They have left a lasting impact on
Yep.
you. And that's the kind of impact that you leave on others and try to leave on others. And I try to do the same thing. Nothing makes me more proud than the person that reported to me 5 years ago that reached out to me today for career advice, or the time I spent with someone this afternoon preparing for an interview. That kind of stuff is the stuff that I think that's the special sauce. That's the good stuff. And as you know so
Yep.
well, and I think you're one of the few people that I know I'm going on here, but
No, you're good.
um, what gets missed so often in the corporate world is that we push towards numbers, results,
Right.
and people miss the mark, which is that if you're leading from a legacy leadership standpoint, the results follow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people say, Ty, why are you always at the top of the board? Well, it's because you have a great culture and you're a great leader and you think about your people. And that's why. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean, if I started with numbers, it would be it could be detrimental. If I know it's
Yeah.
important, trust me, because at
Right.
the end of the day, we're saving lives, right? And
Right.
I know in our situation, we got billions of people out there that need help, right? And
Right.
they all need to reach their outcomes. And at the end of the day, though, we got to have people to do that, right? So
Right.
I feel like it's the talent that we're able to uh, draw toward us if we're blessed enough to have had success and talent wants to come work with you.
Yeah.
It's also when you're starting out as a leader, you're trying to figure out that first year is really difficult sometimes because I remember I didn't sleep a lot that first year when I
Oh, yeah.
became a pharmaceutical sales manager. I wake up at night and I'd go and I'd say, if I can get through the first year, honey, I think I'll be okay. That
I
was
bet you don't sleep
25
a
years
lot
ago.
now.
That was 25 years ago, man. And
I know.
so, at the end of the day, I feel like when you talked about legacy leader, it made me realize that, the more you keep at it, the more people that you impact, the more people that
Yeah.
you help get promoted, the more people that lift you and you lift them. One day you wake up and it's been 25 years and you've impacted thousands of people. It's
Is
crazy,
that
but
and
it
Ty?
happens.
It's so funny. That is exact my experience. My legacy leader was a guy named Ron Fury at Behringer, and he was that for so many of us. He's retired now, but 40, 50 of us. I think he probably had 40 that became managers
Right.
themselves,
Amazing.
and over the course of a 40-year career. And one of my funny story on him is that right the year he retired, we were at a big national meeting, managers meeting, and our VP of sales had come in from outside. He was an outsider to the company. And he was up doing anniversaries. They do it from the big stages, and they show the slide with your
Yeah.
your years of service. And they're
Amazing.
moving up through the ranks, the
Right.
25-year mark.
Yeah.
And
Right.
this guy is my second father. I mean, he's sitting next
Right.
to me and he's getting, I think he's excited because he realized he's at like 40 something years. He's probably the most tenured person in the company.
Wow, that's amazing. One
And he's,
company, that's really impressive. Yeah.
and he's retiring that year.
Wow.
That's his last year. And they get to the last thing and they say, we got one more left. And they say it and it's somebody else. And the person has 2 less years than he has.
Oh, really?
But they've made some sort of clerical error.
Oh,
And they
oh my
don't have
God.
him on the list.
That's amazing,
And
man.
I look over at him and he just looks like so defeated. And
Really?
I literally stood up in the middle of that meeting. There were like 500 managers
Yeah,
there,
you
and
stood up. Well, yeah.
I raised my hand and I said, "Sir, I hate to interrupt, but like I want to make sure we recognize
Oh, it's
Ron
awesome.
Fury, who
What a
spent
story.
42 years here." And
Right.
I sat back down and he said, "Gosh, I love you." He goes, "You're freaking crazy. I can't believe you just did that. You're probably going to get fired, but I love you." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
but that
that's,
shows his commitment to you, and you're
yeah,
all in with him. And that's what
yeah,
leadership is.
that's what leadership
Yeah, when
is.
you go to a meeting and you're doing evaluations and things, I always feel like you always have to fight for your people,
Yeah,
if it's deserving, right? And you will go through a wall for your people, and your people will go through a wall for you.
I know.
I kind of see that, and that's what you were doing for this
Yeah,
42-year legacy manager who had done a lot in your
for
growth
everybody.
development
Yeah.
for everyone.
And it's an interesting thing. You do these talent reviews and you try to get your people promoted and you really try to your point, you do it if it's well deserved.
Right.
And it is funny as you get older, you also realize you develop the sense of leadership to realize when your person maybe isn't the best person.
That is so true because the more you're expanding across the aisleway, that's one of my growth moments as a leader, probably 10, 12 years into leadership. I started picking up phones and calling and engaging
Yeah.
everybody because it's an unrealistic perspective if you're only seeing your team and you're not
Right.
engaged with the entire region, the
Right. And
entire country.
new leaders
Yeah.
do that a lot.
They
They
do.
really,
That's just
they,
not being able to see the big picture
yeah.
and
Yeah.
have the empathy and the respect for everyone engaged, right? And it can't
Yeah.
always be
Yeah.
about your team, even though
Right.
your team's in the top 2 or 3 every year, which is crazy. It
Makes
can't.
it easier. Yeah.
At the end of the day, you want to award your top people, and I think sometimes as organizations, we're in a blessed organization now, but a lot of times you get these organizations that want to please everybody.
Yeah.
That's okay. But I think at the end of the day, it's really, if you're going to set a precedent about, performance and results, you want to continue to recognize your top producers.
Yeah.
Because what I found in business and in the industry and all over the world is everyone's looking for top talent.
Yeah.
And,
So true.
and it's so easy for them to want to come in and take yours. And I think sometimes as we're learning, as we're all growing as organizations today. In other words, we're going through AI right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
We're going through so many things. I got my new chat app, GBT app.
CBT.
I've
Yeah.
been playing with that thing. Blows me away what you can do with it, man. I've
Wild.
just
Wild.
been playing with it for a week and I'm like, oh my God,
Wild.
it's unbelievable. I
Wild.
mean, you can do anything with it, but that's all part of the growth cycle, right? What we're doing now, everything is growing and
Yeah.
changing. We have to kind of go with that.
I have a question for you, Ty. This is an
Yep.
interesting one, but you in our industry, for people that are outside of our industry that are watching your podcast, consuming it, enjoying it, I think one thing that they may not realize is that our type of industry is a type of sale where many times individuals have a really great year. They have a top of the rankings year. They outperform everyone, and the very next year the goals sort of catch up with them, which is unlike a lot of other businesses.
Right.
If you're a top car sales guy, you might be the top car sales guy every single year. And in our business, it's almost designed to level you. And yet,
Right.
ironically, despite that, you have had a team that has just to do it 2, 3, 4 years in a row. I don't think people that are outside of our industry really realize what an accomplishment that is because everything is really stacked against you, in all honesty, for doing it 2 in a row, 3 in a row, 4 in a row. How do you lead to that? And how do you constantly deliver?
Yeah, been blessed to do it 6 times with 2 companies, overall. But I think with AstraZeneca, it's right back to it's building a great team, having great talent. A
Yeah.
lot of people have great talent, great teams, but then it's living into your vision, living into your values, and not just saying you're going to live into them, but you every day you get up and your feet hit the floor, you're playing to win.
Yeah.
You're following the science. We're really doing the values, right?
Yeah.
I think catching people living the values every day, it's hard to get in a pit when you have patients out there who need
Yeah.
our AstraZeneca medication. So I find for me and my teams, I think it all starts with a leader, right? I mean, and they're
Yeah.
leaders. We don't really have I don't really look at leadership as being a title as much as everyone is leading, right?
Right. Right.
And I always, really, really focus in on being entrepreneurial, right? Putting the patient first. I mean, those are all values that we live by. And we have billions of patients out there worldwide that could really benefit from what we have to offer patients, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, that is so inspiring. And I feel so blessed to have this opportunity to be with a great organization and work with top talented
But
people.
your passion for that
I just
is
don't take it. I never take anything for granted.
no.
I
You're
won't let
you're
my
not.
team take it for granted either because I feel like with them, they understand. They don't, but they just live into what
Yeah.
we all do together, right?
It's
And
it's your passion. It's the drive. It's the vision. It's the those are the winning things you wish you could teach every people leader. Like that
And
is
just for
what
me,
you
it's
got to do.
more about it's not really about me at all. I'm the
100%.
servant leader, the guy
Yeah.
that's always if you put a chart together, you wouldn't start with me up here. You would start with me here with the team. I'm lifting the team, trying to support the team, trying to help
Yeah.
the team. And I think leaders sometimes put a hat on thinking,
Yeah.
well, I'm up here and the team is
Right.
here.
They
I'm
don't.
in there with them, right? So I think they respect the fact that we're all in this mission on this mission together to make a difference every day,
Yeah.
for us and the patients and things that we deal with.
But
But
I certainly think your charisma helps, you know.
well, I appreciate, I'm blessed to be able to have an opportunity with all this. But you're right, transformational. I had that on here. I had situational on here.
Yeah.
I had charismatic on here.
I came up with the Ken Blanchard sit leadership stuff. It's been a
I
big
love that legacy leader though, because
yeah.
that's ultimately what we're all inspiring to achieve. And you've seen what great looks like with these
Yeah.
legacy leaders, and
Yeah.
that's helped you to kind of put this program together that you're kind of leaning in on a little bit.
Yeah, I did. You know, it's funny. A lot of times in training at big companies, you use outside vendors, and you know, a company might pay them a couple $100,000 to build a program for them, but we didn't do any of that. We built it all on our own, and the reason was because I was driving towards what I had seen, which was amazing. I knew what amazing leadership was. I had seen it firsthand in the field. I'd seen others do it. I'd had my mentors do it to me, and I didn't really need to outsource it to someone else to see what their
Right.
vision was. You know what I mean?
Phenomenal, man. Yeah.
And I think that's been the big rallying cry. I tell you, it was funny. We went to a big leadership sort of learning conference, and and a guy there decided he wanted to write a Forbes article about our program,
Oh, nice.
and it was all it was such a awesome validation that you know doing right and creating a program that's all based on being authentic and full of empathy and read people and change your delivery, all the things that great leaders do. That's the art of leadership. How do I speak to each person on my team differently
Yeah,
based on who they are?
you can't speak the same to everyone all the time.
100%.
If coming from an empathy standpoint, you have to be able to flex and meet people right where they are,
Yeah.
And as a leader, sometimes we have to, step back and pause and take a breath and, it's in balance, and
Yeah.
but it's always having I think the mind and the heart in the right place for the right reason for the people, right? To me, we started this conversation about, what does leadership look like? And for me, it's people. In my case, depending on what business you would be in, for me, it's patience is my second.
Mm.
And then my third one is performance, which is really patience too, because at the end of the day, we want to save more lives and help them, reach their clinical outcome goals, right? But at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it all starts with people, and I just believe that, at the end of the day, I also think accountability fits in here, and I think that great leaders are accountable. They don't make an excuse for not hitting goals. They're really quick to work with all the pieces they have and help develop those pieces. Because like you said, you don't come out with a shiny piece of gold overnight. I've taken teams over where we had people that were underperforming historically and just injecting belief in people and meeting where they are and putting in the extra hours of practice with them, you know, doing their own videos, it's going above and beyond for people. And you know what they turn around and do?
They
They
win
go above and beyond for you
and
and
they
the
end up
team
winning.
and the
Yeah,
mission and the vision. I just think sometimes we get caught up in people coming in leading down and not
all the
leading
time,
up. If we can do that, I
all the
think
time.
it's a huge opportunity for any business out there to take it to the next level.
Yeah, we have a big meeting every year called ONX, which is a big national meeting, 1,500 people this year. We did all the development sessions for those thing, and I did a development session on future forward leadership and what's going to happen in the next 10 years in leadership. And to your point, and I think you've been a far ahead of the curve on this, but future generations, millennials, Gen Zs, they want purpose.
Yeah,
They want
absolutely.
purpose every day. And
They
so
do.
baby
Absolutely.
boomers are it's the career, it's the growth, it's the opportunity, it's moving up on the org chart. They want purpose, they align to it. Everyone wants to help
They
them.
will run through a wall for purpose and
They,
when they can see
but these new generations will not work. They you have to have purpose to
you
lead
got to have purpose. You're not going to keep their attention span with
100%.
all the technology and with so many things going on right now. It used to be a football, baseball, basketball kept me busy, but
Right.
it's not we're all maturing, we're all growing in our life cycle.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think to your point, though, understanding the nuances and the difference in the talent and the people and what's going on around us
Yes.
is so important as a leader to be able to have that vision and see that and feel that and understand it,
Yeah.
right? Which is huge.
There is another one, Ty, distributed leadership, which is this idea that leading is getting so technically challenging.
Good
It's
point.
almost a version of servant leadership where you're letting go of control
Yeah.
because no leader can have the technical expertise to be the player coach because there's so much information, all the AI, the amount of, because 15 years ago doing this job, you got done with your emails, you were done. 20 years ago doing it, you didn't even have email barely. Now when you get done with your emails, you've got Microsoft Teams, you've got to go check. And once you get through all the Microsoft Teams, then you got to go check your texts. And no one can keep up anymore. So you've got to change the way you lead
You've
if you're
got
going
to
to be
change the way
successful.
you lead, and you've got to change the way. We're blessed to be with an organization that is growing in so many facets with touch points, right? So we have omni-channel. That's a big word, omni-channel,
Yeah.
but it touches so many things. And I think that the future is so bright to be able to help get more out to people that make decisions and help patients in their patient journey in this case. There's just so much opportunity, and not everyone is equipped or flexible enough to expand themselves to be able to touch the media aspect of it
Yeah. Right.
or the AI piece of it.
Right.
We might have in a sales piece or something.
Right.
There's so many moving pieces. And I think we're in like this uh, time line. It's almost like a time tunnel, like where all of a sudden things are getting faster and things are moving quicker, and we don't know what the end product. There's never an end product, but we don't know. We know there's a lot of things that we do and we do it well, but how do we master all these touch points appropriately? And it's all, to your point, it's just different for everybody. Everyone's
Yeah.
coming into this with a little different mindset, right?
Yeah.
But we do have a minimal expectation with a lot of the things that we're doing now, with digital space, face-to-face emails, all the things that we do. But to your point, though, you're right. It's an exciting time to be engaged with the technology,
Yeah.
and technology has changed a lot of the way we do what we do. And there's things that we're figuring, like you and I being on a YouTube channel. It's like a TV channel right now, dude. I mean, you can touch people all over the world with
I
this.
know.
I mean,
Amazing.
it's so amazing to me that
Amazing.
we're able to do this. And what we're doing though is exchanging information and gaining
Yeah.
insights. And that's how you grow and develop, stretching yourself. And that's why we have growth mindset of a champion podcast, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to get better. We're trying to break a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
And that ties into the leadership aspect of what we were talking about, all these various styles and how it's
Yeah.
really not one style. It's kind of a blend of
Yeah.
multiple styles. And to your point, digital and technology does fit differently into some of these styles. You have to be able to flex
Yeah.
the style to pull all that in,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
And so, hey, I had when you really look at your mentors, you mean you've been in many companies, and you what I love is your growth mindset, right? I mean, you're always flexing, you're maximizing, opportunities to get better and help others get better. And that just propels you to another level of opportunity, right? So if you had to look and think back on mentors, and you gave me a great example of 42-year-old mentor, you're at a meeting, you had to stand up because they left the guy
Yeah.
in the chart, right?
Yeah.
Do you have another mentor in your mind? I know you don't want to leave any people out, but is there someone else that has impacted you that,
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I worked for a person at ZS Pharma, my boss, who was amazing. I mean, she supported me. She believed in me. I'll tell you, I had an interesting run, and I don't know if you've ever felt this way or not, but I stayed in that people management, district sales manager
right?
job for a bunch of years,
I
and I
saw that.
liked it.
Yeah.
And in the very beginning of it, people used to say to me, "Wow, you've got potential. You could end up being a second line sales leader.
Right.
You could be a head of sales." And in the beginning, that used to feel real good. And then what happened for me is that I ended up, after a while, people would say it to me because I was mentoring other leaders, and I started feeling a little bitter about it because I started thinking, all of these people are getting these jobs, but I'm not able to get that job because I'm not going to move. I like where I live, and
Right.
the company requires me to move
Well, that's
up
going
there.
through a lot of people's heads in business. I mean, what you're
Yeah,
talking about is
and
a
I feel and I
real
feel
world scenario.
yeah,
Yep.
and I feel like I could contribute at a higher level, and I felt upset about it. Bothered me for years. So
Right.
anyway, to make a long story short, um, I had a really difficult boss in the med device world. I mean, this guy, my numbers were great. I was like 125% to plan.
That's
And
amazing.
everyone on my team was above their numbers. Now, in that culture, most people made it a year because they fired you if your numbers weren't good.
Yep.
And everybody's numbers went bad after a while. Well, I had this boss. We didn't see leadership the same way. And I think we never got along because we were the exact opposite side. He would say to me famously, Josh, like, uh, I mean, I just don't get it. You're
Right.
125% to plan.
Right.
Everybody on your team is over goal,
Right.
and you're such a nice guy. And if you just started challenging people more and, put the heat on them a little bit, your numbers, you'd be 175% to plan. I just don't
Right.
understand why you. And I just was so opposed to that. I was like, the only
Right.
reason I'm 125% and
Right.
everyone else is quitting and getting fired
Right.
is
Exactly.
because I'm creating a special culture. And we
Right.
just butted heads about it,
Just a
Todd.
different philosophy
A
on
whole different
leadership.
philosophy.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so after a while, I ended up leaving that company and I ended up going to the startup biotech company. And I ended up working for this leader who was just, a top climber. She was what good looked like. And she
Right.
really agreed with leadership the same way I did. And
Yep.
that felt so validating to me in that moment
Yeah.
that her having my back, I stayed in that job a lot longer than I probably should have. I got offered other jobs. I didn't take them because of her.
Right.
And I stayed because I loved her and I respected her and I bought into her team and her vision and her culture. And she made a big difference in my career. She
That's huge.
really,
And I love the way you're differentiating leadership,
yeah,
leadership styles, and how that can impact an employee, right?
yeah.
Because at the
Do
end of
you
the day,
see it?
everyone out there is dealing with different stressors and different opportunities, and
Yeah,
there's challenges. We're all going to run into some challenges, but
yeah.
at the end of the day, the leadership style a lot of times can keep good talent longer
Oh, yeah.
because they feel the scarf threat's not there, right? Like,
Yes.
we remember the scarf threats we
Yeah.
pulled out of here.
Brain-based coaching. Yeah.
They're brain-based coaching, correct, correct. And so it's just important to have that. I think that awareness of the impact you're having on people and how can you help them. I've been blessed. I've been with AZ. It's been 12 years now, and
It's awesome.
knocking on a lot of wood, but I haven't lost an employee to a
Well,
competitor.
Ty, that's not surprising.
I mean,
I
they
mean, our startup got bought by AZ, and we had 25 districts, and every district lost one person, at least one person, except me.
right. And
And
I'm
they
not
weren't.
not
And I'm
gonna
not saying it because
yeah.
I was so great. I'm saying it because
No.
I was humble and I was a teammate, and they felt like I had their backs, and
Now, a
we had a
lot of times
special
when it
culture.
transitions, though, Josh, you get new people coming in
Yeah,
and they see a level of intensity and excitement, and
yeah,
they're kind of like, huh, is this
yeah,
real? And then
yeah.
all of a sudden they realize, but it's for you. We want to see you do well.
Right.
We want,
Yeah,
support you. And, once
yeah.
they get that buy-in and that feel, and I
Well,
think a lot of times
that's your secret sauce.
it's a culture, man. And I think sometimes, everyone understands, I think in leadership, we all get along and we all have goals and we do everything we do, but at the same time, you got to have a little bit of AstraZeneca edge
You
or
do.
Abbott edge or whoever you're with, right? And I think having a little bit of an edge to really want to do well and really want to help more people and really want to help everyone achieve their life goals, as far as working
Yeah.
for a great company and getting a new opportunity. I just think we've had a lot of great people come here, and within all the companies I've been affiliated with, this is only my third company. So I was with Texas Instruments for 23. They paid all 3 degrees for me, and then I ended up going from there to Abbott for
Heavy.
13,
Yeah.
and then I've been here now for coming up on
Well,
13. But and I think for me, Josh, what's really weird is I had the same kind of mindset you did there with being
yeah.
really successful, and I've had a lot of people kind of come to me and want me to come join.
100%.
I'm so happy doing what I'm doing. I love my teams and I love the
Yeah.
company. For me, I'm kind of loyal like that, but
Yes.
it's cause I think it's because I just enjoy it so much,
You
and
do.
it's
It's so obvious.
it's maximizing the opportunities,
It's
and
so obvious that
know,
that's your drive.
and at
So
the end of the
obvious.
day, I have been through some change 3 times, and how we build. I'm a kind of a people person and love,
Yeah.
building those relationships. And when you've left them 3 times, you got to be able to go through it again.
I know.
Because your heart goes into it, right?
I
Your
know.
heart, your mind, you give it everything.
You're
Plus, you got to be
you're
ready in
you're
life because you never know what's going to happen. You got to be prepared for the next step because the next step could always come, right? So,
your passion for that's amazing. I tell you, you give me nice compliments and you say, look how great your career is and stuff. And really, Ty, like I'm this exact same guy you are. I ended up with all of these, the ball bounced in a way that was, in my favor. I mean, I was at a startup company and we got bought by AZ, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to lose my job. And yet,
right.
and then they decided to keep us. And then they said, well, we're right in your backyard. It's like getting bought by a company that's an hour away from your house. Like, you know what I mean? All of a sudden,
That's really cool, man. Yeah, I thought the company did a
next,
great job with that, with
yeah.
picking that company
But
up.
if I had lived in California,
Right.
it wouldn't have done any good for me. But I ended up being in the right place at the right time. And I think back to all of our conversation, if you try to lead people the right way, if you
Yeah.
try to be positive, if you try to be a legacy leader and leave a lasting impact on them, where they
Absolutely.
say, you know
Maximize
what, I
all
worked for
opportunities
Ty
to help others.
Sparks and I'll never forget it. He was the greatest leader I've ever had. If you try to be that guy,
Yeah,
good things generally happen
it
to you.
does. And that's back to your point. You take it, you maximize the opportunities, growth mindset. You
Yeah.
take advantage of the situations to improve yourself, to get better every day. You're doing that right now. I'm doing that. We're on here together, and it's really cool. Um, how have you grown on your journey? I mean, you're telling me now, but to challenge your own status quo, like you just recently did that with the job change that you've
Yeah.
been going through, right?
Well, yeah, and I think I always loved leadership, and I think it's funny if you talk to senior leaders, and I know you talk to some on the podcast and on the show, which is so cool. If you ask many of them, what do you want to do in the latter half of your career when you get out of sales, that many of them say, I want to work in leadership training. I mean, almost everybody, because they love mentoring, the leading, the inspiring. Like, what a job. So this was a awesome opportunity for me, like professionally and personally. I worked for Spencer Holt, who you know well and
Oh yeah.
love, and I love Spencer. And Spencer was doing some leadership consulting after he left AstraZeneca, and he said, "Come be a leadership consultant with me." I said, "Me? What do I know about leadership?" He said, "Come on, Josh. Like you've been a people leader 25 years. You got all this experience." I said, "Spencer, I don't have any street cred." Anyway, I said,
Right.
"You've got a PhD in leadership." So I went back to grad school for leadership, to make a long story short, and I'm like finishing my master's degree in leadership right now. And I've learned a ton. So to your point about challenging, growing, like
Well, that's
I've
what you're doing. You're pushing your
I've got
status quo,
I've
man.
got 2 kids and my life's crazy busy. And the last thing I need to do is sign myself up for graduate school and a master's degree. But I did it, and I'm getting to the finish line, and
Are you
it's
at
been an
Penn State
awesome
with that? Are
experience.
you at Penn
I'm at
State
Penn
with it?
State. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Good
Yeah,
for
it's
you.
awesome.
You just answered my next question. How do you push yourself to maintain a growth mindset? So you're already that is
Get out of your comfort zone.
yeah, that's it. I mean, sometimes it's that simple. You just got to get out
Just
of your
sign up. Just raise
don't.
your hand. Just raise your hand. Just
Uh,
raise your hand.
well, when you start reflecting on everything, how has teamwork impacted your your success? I know we talk about what we've done or teams have done,
Yeah.
but how has teamwork taken you, help propel you or help give you new insights to help other teams grow? I mean,
I think I think it's an interesting question because, you know, you share this same trait, Ty. I think my granddad worked at the power company, and he had all sorts of people he worked with. He worked with poor people, with wealthy
right.
people, with black people, with white people, all
Yeah,
sorts of folks all over the place in the 50s and 60s in Virginia. And my grandfather could get along with everybody. He
yep,
had friends, that were of all different walks of life. And I think when you're on a great team with people who are different than you, there's a magic to that. And I think I was blessed to have gotten from him probably, and from my mom, the ability to talk to people and relate to people and
absolutely,
to
man.
care about them,
Absolutely.
whether they're like me or not. And in fact, they may be the exact opposite of me, but I can still find something in them to care about. And I think with regard to teamwork and being on a special team, that to me has always helped me be a great teammate, try to get people to be good teammates with
Yeah,
each other, foster a special team. I always found that in building a team, one of the most powerful tools for a leader was praise, was public praise. And so me praising you for something, might sort of make your teammates see you differently. And they might, even if it's a negative and that challenges them, they say, oh yeah, you're going to say Ty's great at that. Well, I'm great at it too.
yeah. It
You
creates a
know,
you create a culture of working together, but also pushing and challenging each
yeah,
other.
and it's
Everyone
like,
wants to get better,
and if
right?
that's the negative
Yeah.
side of public praise, well, so be it, because everybody gets energized by trying to be the best to get the praise themselves. So I really relied on that quite a bit as leading a team as a people leader.
No, it's so cool. And I reflect back on my childhood. Lost my dad when I was 7, and mom, he was a military
Wow.
veteran, and mom ended up, he was only 33, so mom
Oh
moved us into
gosh.
a housing project. We had to get a little government help. And so I was an athlete. So I grew up in a neighborhood where I was the minority,
Right.
and they took me right in. All everybody did. I had Hispanics and African American, everybody. They
Yeah.
all brought me in and taught me basketball, and I became the best player on the block.
No way. It's
They taught
awesome.
me how to hoop, and
That's
but my
awesome.
point, I learned so much. I didn't know what the higher power was doing for me during all that time, but he was planning me for something big, and I had no
Yes.
idea what it was.
Right.
And
Right.
big is only relative to what big looks like to some people. But to me, I always thought, I was blessed to go through so much adversity
Yes.
and diversity. And it just made me a more understanding, caring, thoughtful human being to realize
Yes.
that everybody has potential. Everyone has ability. They just need an opportunity. So
Yeah.
it just really lifted my spirit growing up in that
Wow.
environment. I go back today to the same project, play ball with the same
You do.
families that way back, and I'll go back in there, and I've had little kids run up. What are you doing over here? You just don't look like you belong here. I said, you see 519 Oak Street right there? And they go, yeah. I said, I lived there for 12 years, and I'm coming back. I want to play ball with you guys. And they're all like, running to
Come on, man.
they
They're
all want
like,
to come jump my Corvette and everything. But
they're
it's
like, come
so
on.
cool because to me, man, it makes you something. It makes you
Yeah.
understand that you had to work hard, you had to
Yeah.
grow, and you had to challenge. You had to have a growth mindset. You had to challenge your status
Yeah.
quo. When you go to school with one pair of jeans and two pair of shoes, you got to figure out a way to go earn another pair of jeans. So I think sometimes we go into business in the real world thinking somebody owes us something, you know. And I think if you go into every day with your eyes wide open and your heart wide open and your mind wide open, and you're thinking, oh my, what potential, what can be done today that we have never done? When there's so much opportunity. And I think that's infectious with people and teams, right? And I think sometimes we limit our resources. We say, we don't have enough resources. We don't have enough of this. We got way more than we need. We just need the intestinal fortitude to get up every day and get excited and go do it, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's the magic. But Josh, man, it's been awesome getting to chat with you and get to kind of relate with you.
I've
Uh,
enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it.
you know, when you look at people development, is the lifeblood of most companies, right?
Hmm.
And I know you're in the middle of the legacy
Hmm.
leadership and everything, and pulling all that together. When you start looking at the people development and
Hmm.
pulling the teams together, and I've seen so much excitement coming out of you. I know that
Hmm.
you've got some things you're doing right now, and I
Yeah.
want to stay engaged with it and learn from it as
I'd
well.
love to have you be part
Yeah,
of it.
man.
Yeah.
But it's what would you say if you had to just take a step back now and recapitulate the last 2 to 3 years of your journey?
Yeah.
Where,
It's,
where would you put your mindset right now in regards to, where you've been, where you're at, and where you're
well,
going?
I'm in an awesome mindset. I mean, like you are. I mean, there's what's not to like. We can be
Right.
positive. We'll build it up. We'll is great as well as things have gone. There's always opportunity to make it better than it's been. We did a program last year and people liked it a lot. I mean, I'm challenged this year. How do we redo it and top it and make it better than last year? I mean, that's
Right.
just, leading and being positive and being glass half full. I'm trying to get better personally. I'm trying to be a better person, a better leader. I'm trying to, uh, all that stuff, Ty. And I think it's probably like a universal human experience. I wish I could say that I'm, so ahead of the curve that I've got it all figured out, but I'm just trying to, like you said, get up with eyes wide open and open heart and be positive and
Yeah.
make a difference. You know what I mean?
Okay, man. We've been on here a while, and I appreciate your
I
time.
love it.
We're
Yeah.
getting ready to. I always finish the podcast up with 2 or 3 questions.
Okay.
Kind
Let's
of
lay it on. Lay
fire
it
them
on.
at you.
Lay it on.
I'm someone who recently joined an organization, and I've had some success. I've been, of direct sales for 3 to 5 years, and I want some leadership. I want to be able to be a leader. How would you refuel that individual to get them started to become a leader, a first line leader?
I love it.
Yeah,
Well, I think leadership and becoming a first line leader, the first step towards it is to be seen as the leader without the title.
that's great.
So if you're telling me that you want to be the next people leader out there, I'm going to ask you, how do your peers see you? And do they see you as the leader? Because if they don't, then you're probably not there yet. You're probably not ready. You're probably not showing just the innate leadership skills and abilities and talent that you probably need to demonstrate. Now, it doesn't mean we can't get there, and I can coach you and help you see what that looks like. But I think oftentimes, aspirationally, so many people want to be a leader, and it's great. But are you leading in your current role? And if the answer is
Right.
no, then I think you really need to think about it.
That's a great point. That's a great insight. A lot of people, and this is part of growth, picking up a phone and getting a mentor.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts around how to approach mentorship? Like not the mentor meant a coachee, not you coaching someone, but how would you give people the confidence out there to take a risk to ask someone to be a mentor? How would you go in? How would you recommend they do that?
it's a funny thing, Ty. I saw this recently that there was a study that said if you ask people for feedback about your anything, you get about a 20-30% success rate. Like most people are like, I'll give you feedback, but there's just something about the word.
Right.
But the word advice is different.
That's a good point.
And that if you'll call anyone and ask them for some advice, nearly everyone says yes to that, something like 70 or 80%. So
Okay.
if you went to Sarah, Walters and said, Sarah, give me some feedback. She's a big time leader at AstraZeneca, for those who don't know. She'd probably give it to you because she knows you and likes you. But if you asked her for advice, she'd definitely give it to you. And I think that's an important sort of step. Again, pick up the phone and call someone. Most people are going to say yes and want to help you. You know what I mean?
That's great.
And you're going to demonstrate that you have a growth mindset by seeking advice or feedback or help or mentorship.
Now, how would you, last question, if you're looking out there and someone comes to you and they say, I mastered everything that's in front of me. I'm ready for the next step. I've done
Love it.
everything. I got mentorship. I've, put the work in. My peers voted me,
Yeah.
the best teammate. I've already been an interim DSM. I just cannot get my foot in the door. How would you what feedback would you give them on networking?
I would say, I mean, it depends on your culture of your organization. I can tell you, as you know so well, the organization we are at, um, you know, no job is had coming out of left field. You know what I mean?
Right. Nobody's got a guarantee you're going to get any. I mean,
There's
you have to
no
go and
guarantee.
interview and earn it, right? I
There's
mean, there's a
no
lot.
guarantee you're going to get anything.
Right.
And if the first conversation you're having with people about these jobs at our organization is about a job you're pursuing and interviewing with, you've already missed the boat.
Yeah, because the job is already, people have been looking for that job for a
Because
year or
people have
two.
been networking
They've been networking. Yeah, you're
for
behind the
that
eight ball.
job for
Yeah.
years, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a shameless plug here because I just read it for my grad school class. If you haven't read this book, Power by Jeffrey Pfeffer,
Okay.
I'm going to suggest this to you, Ty, and your audience as a great read. It talks about how to get power within organizations,
Okay. That
not
fits
in the
right
sense,
into the question. I love it.
not in the sense of being a diabolical leader with all
Right.
the power and you're bossing everybody around and
Right.
telling
Right.
people,
Right.
but it's how to get jobs and how to get new opportunities and how to get things done in organizations. And um, I can tell you, I actually used this week with a senior leader in
Wow.
oncology, like yours level or above,
Wow.
to get something approved that was previously denied, and I actually was able to get that person to consider it. You know what I mean? So read the book, Jeffrey Pfeffer, Power, and it's a great read. He's a great author.
And I promise this is the last question. This is so good. I just got to keep tapping you one more time. Branding.
Yes,
So, I love to
everything.
brand my team. I
Me too.
love to brand accomplishments. I like to recognize people.
Yeah,
That's just kind of my DNA because I feel like it empowers people, right? So when it comes to branding, everything is moving so fast right now with technology. Is there one or two pearls on branding the individual to be able to brand them? So you got to have value in your branding, right? You got to bring something for people to engage with you, right? Most of the time. What do you think from a branding standpoint? I think a lot of people, you don't get this in college. I don't think there's a class on branding the human capital, right?
no.
So what advice would you offer someone out there who's kind of, has a growth mindset, they're doing a lot of good things and they're trying to get more visibility to help others or to
Yeah,
move up in organization, whatever.
I believe in branding so much, Ty. I know you and I are exactly on the same page about that's why we created Legacy Leadership.
Yeah.
You know, we put out video content, all sorts of stuff to build on that brand. Like we literally go and say, we want to make a commercial for this. We want people in power suits acting like superheroes or, Law and Order. Like we're trying to show these people as being superstars. I believe in that completely. Advice I would give to someone that's seeking a leadership opportunity, hasn't had it in terms of personal branding, is to control the narrative. And what I mean by
Good
that
point.
is
Yeah.
many times leaders, as you know, they're looking for specific skill sets. Typically they want someone that's going to lead, inspire, and motivate people. And they
Right.
want people that are going to drive results. And if I'm somebody on your team or any team out there that's an individual contributor that's doing some networking and talking to people, they're going to do this networking call with you and they're going to get off the call at the end of 30 minutes or hour and they're going to summarize their time with you in one or two sentences. They're going to say, "Oh, I really like Ty, good guy, super passionate." Or they're going to say, Josh he's a pretty thoughtful person. He just probably doesn't have the right experience. Like they're going to
Right.
slap a tag on you. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so every moment in your interactions with people, you should be controlling the narrative by speaking to those key points. If I'm an individual contributor, every conversation I have with you, Ty, my mentor, should be around moments that I tried to drive results and I tried to lead and inspire and motivate other people on my team. And if I'm not doing that, I'm missing the opportunity to control the narrative. You know what I mean? Because then it just becomes a
I just
conversation.
love what you said because I think people who have a freedom and they're driving success and they feel like they have a freedom to do it, they want to do it more. They want
Yeah.
to do it better. It's the people who feel like they are, they don't have any place to go or they can't expand within their role. That's how we lose top
Yeah.
talent,
And
right?
the thing is, Ty,
Yeah.
your people are going to get on a networking call. Let's say you have top talent
Right.
and they're frustrated and they want an individual, they want a manager job like you've got. And you say, well, I'm going to help you. I'm going to set up some networking calls with you, right? If they don't use all that super selling skills, they're salespeople. If they can't work in and control the narrative and have that person
That's
leave
part
the
of
call thinking that
yeah,
person is a leader and that person is driving
absolutely.
results, they've
Absolutely.
just they just had a networking call. They didn't get anything accomplished. So they have to
That's
be
right.
super strategic and thoughtful and tactful about it. You're not just networking just to talk to someone. You're networking to have them leave that interaction and think,
Absolutely.
that guy's got the skills that I need next time I need a leader. He's got it all, in a nice,
Absolutely.
subtle, humble way.
Well, Josh, it's been a real pleasure having you on tonight.
Thanks, buddy.
Maybe we'll get back together again in the future and do another one, but I
Let's
really
do it.
appreciate your time. And I'm real excited for you and everyone that you're going to be touching and what a difference you're making and going to continue to make. And I want you to have a great week, and we'll talk soon. And thank you for being a guest tonight on Growth Mindset of a Champion.
Thanks, Ty. I loved it. Thank you so
All
much
right.
for having me.
Take care of yourself, my friend. We'll
Take
talk.
care, buddy. See you. Bye.